story, but that was an expectation that I had placed. Best friends forever, you know what I mean? Bros before hoes, as they say. So, that was, my way of thinking at the time. And, there is a part of me that still kind of, believes in that little statement, you know what I mean? But it's because I think people, it's a whole other subject, but people drive themselves mad with relationships, you know what I mean? And they start to live in the illusion, what Course in Miracles calls the special relationship. But you've got to let them do what they're going to do. You've got to let them go their way, and you've got to, send them off with love. You got to do that. You really do.
Yeah. Well, and, especially in that, when you're talking in terms of, that, I'm going to come back to this again, that comfort level. It's a tough situation when you're placing expectations on people because that's really your expectation of them. Mm-hmm. And what happens sometimes, quite frequently, is that, people will be in a situation where they fear, the strength of their friendships or their relationships with people because they fear that they're not meeting the expectations of that other person.
Yeah.
And then, you let the ego get involved in that. And then what happens? What happens at that point is, just like you said, the friendship is probably going to fall apart. The relationship, not even necessarily if it's a friendship, it could be between a boss and a coworker. It could be between you and the grocer. It could be something that simple.
Yeah.
I expected you to put those in plastic bags, not paper bags. And
they get really petty in other
and
words.
now all of a sudden, the grocer is feeling like, inadequate. And you're ultimately leading into a situation of condemnation.
And then you're feeling inadequate.
Yeah, and then your ego takes over, and your comfort zone is gone then.
Right.
Like, oh gosh, I guess I should have allowed that person to really kind of be, to have free will and to do whatever it was that they really wanted to do instead of trying to manipulate or dictate to them how I expected them to act or, how I expected them to spend time with me.
Yeah. It's really a lose-lose situation.
It is indeed.
Going back to the little story I had, I felt like I lost a friend. Mm-hmm. Okay?
And you did.
I placed expectations. And then the other person resents me for placing expectations.
Exactly.
So it's just a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
Then the other person stops calling me. Lose-lose situation. And then what are we really doing here? We are giving away our independence.
Yes.
I think that you should do this. I'm not going to be happy unless you do this with me. No, you're my best friend. You've got to come to the Sweet 16 party. That's codependency.
Yeah. Or I only want friends who are interested in doing the kind of things that I'm interested in doing.
Right. That's a good one. Yeah.
So that's not only setting expectations for other people, but boy, you talk about setting an expectation on yourself. Now you got to live up to it.
That's one of the negative.
Now you got to live up to it. You know. So again, if someone's not, if someone feels that they're not meeting expectations of people. What does that do to a person's level of ambition?
Tell us.
After a while, I would think that you begin to start questioning your own self-worth.
Yeah.
Like I had someone call me today and just kind of like ream me out because I haven't made any time to be with her for over a week or so. I'm very busy.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't want to see this person. It's just that, quite honestly, I have not been able to make the time to see this person.
And quite honestly, and it's okay. I'm just making up the situation here. Mm-hmm. It would be okay if today maybe you didn't want to see her. Yeah. That's okay too, and I think people have to realize that.
Well, that's not it though. I'm
not saying
that is a situation.
I'm not saying
there are situations like that, but it's not. I had to explain to her that it's not that I don't want to see you, but. Again, I had an expectation placed on me, and I was made to feel, not that anyone controls my feelings, because I understand exactly what the psychology that was going on with this, but when I got off the phone, I was like, gee, you know, if I didn't know better, I would feel really guilty about this.
Right.
You know, and because I haven't made time to see her, and on, you know, and my self-esteem, you know, could sink, and you know, it's a funny situation,
Yeah.
you know, and it all comes from, you know, setting expectations. You know, like if you were really my friend, you know, I would be the #1 priority in your life.
Right. They try
Talk
to
about setting an expectation, and that's an
Right.
expectation that no one can live up to,
Yeah.
quite honestly live up to. I mean, you can, but you're probably going to end up suffering somehow.
and resenting your own self.
Exactly. Or
Yes.
even resenting your friend.
And resenting your friend.
You know?
But I think, you know, everything goes back full circle. I
It
can't blame
does.
anything for anyone. So, you know, let's do a little bit of growing up, and as I was saying before, if I don't want to see someone, or someone doesn't want to see me, I'm okay with that. I can suck that up.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to be able to do that, because it's incredible when you're able to just, you know, be yourself, suck things up, look things in the eye, look situations in the face, so to speak, because everything always ends up turning out all right. You know, all of a sudden you do get the amazing friends that can do this and that you want them to do. You know, I have such a wide variety of friends, okay? And there's some people that we love to go clubbing. There are some people that I love to meet and read philosophical books with.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that I specifically love to have wine and dinner with. You know what I mean? And it's very much my nature to sometimes, on special occasions, bring them all together. It doesn't always work, and I'm okay with that. But they all have a special, of course, place in my heart. Not only that, they fulfill all my different desires, because that's what life is. It's about desires and fulfilling them all, you know. And, you know, because of my mindset, if they want to all come together one day, that they can, and sometimes they do, and it's quite lovely, you know. And sometimes they do, and it's not lovely, and they actually don't like each other. But that's okay. That's life, you know what I mean?
Well, it all comes back down to free will, doesn't it?
Yeah, and sucking it up.
It's important. It's important to love your friends, and it's important to be loved by your friends. But you know, it all comes back to that independence, you know, / dependence, codependent situation. You know,
And if you
have slipped into one of those particular situations, especially a situation of codependence, you're not in a situation of free will.
Right, and if you slip into a situation of codependence, you're not loving yourself. And when you do love yourself, it all turns out just fine.
Yeah, of
It all
course.
turns out just
Of
fine.
course.
So I think that's it on expectations and placing expectations on people, on ourselves. Anything else we want to add to that before we finish up?
Well, I just think it's important for everybody to know that, you know, before you place an expectation on someone else, take a look at yourself, because that's exactly where it's coming from. Okay, and if they're not going to meet your expectations, then your expectations were unrealistic, unfair,
Mm-hmm.
and really robbing someone of their own free will.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, in very simple terms, suck it up. That's what I have to say. You know,
Suck it up.
Suck it up. All right, cool. So thanks for talking about expectations.
Turned out just as I expected.
Okay. So obviously this is gonna.